it's your host over here, Runa, and I got a special invitation for you. Join me and the Changemakers in the No More Boxes movement, where we are raising awareness towards this limiting and isolating behavior that we human beings are constantly doing, placing ourselves and others into boxes. Invisible boxes that so often are not really serving humankind. All you have to do is to go to patreon.com/no more boxes, and for as little as $3 a month, you can become a change maker and be with us on that journey, changing the world. Now let's get on with that podcast. You're listening to the Changemakers podcast, where we share tips, insight, tools, and stories from other changemakers designed to motivate you to become the change you want to see in your world. Make sure you join our Changemakers community at runamagnus.com/podcast. And now, this is your time to sit back, relax, and enjoy. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, lovely audience of the Changemakers podcast. You can believe it, we have another episode that I am so certain it's going to blow your mind. My guest today is Traicy Litt. She's a certified mindset coach, a rapid transformational therapist, and an awe-inspiring speaker. Can you imagine what we're going to be up to? Now, Traicy's dead-on insights is coupled with her direct, loving, and light delivery has helped countless women transform their lives from the inside out. She's the founder of the Litt Factor, a personal growth and coaching company, and she reaches people through private coaching, group programs, immersive workshops, and seminars and speaking. I am really excited to talk to Traicy today because I think we have a lot in common, and as well, I think Traicy, her life story is something that is inspiring, and she can share with us so many of the things that we need to know, and we need constantly to be reminded so that we can live in a world, in a box, like I often talk about, in a box that is good, in a box that is nurturing you, in a box that is allowing you to be who you are, not constraining you. So, Traicy, welcome to the Changemakers podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to hang out.
Oh, you have no idea how much the excitement is on this end. So, Traicy, let's just start with your life story. And you were not exactly born with a silver spoon in your mouth, were you?
No, not at all. You know, we go all the way back. We go back to Brooklyn, New York, where I was born, but we'll skip ahead to the juicy stuff. You know, I was a kid who had a wonderful upbringing and great parents and a wonderful family. And somewhere along the line, I stopped believing in myself. Somewhere along the line, I didn't think that I was smart enough and good enough. And as a result of that, the trajectory of my life, I was, feeling lost and making certain decisions that weren't in service of my highest good. And then through the course of some really incredible gifts, and I say that on purpose because I strongly believe that everything happens for us. Mm-hmm. And at the age of, 20, decided college wasn't for me and dropped out. And then by the age of 24, I lost my mother, who was my best friend in the entire world. And by the age of 28, I was a single mother to my 9-month-old daughter. And that path is what made me realize I needed to grow, right? Is what kind of woke me up to what's going on here and what's happening within you and who do you want to be for the rest of your life? Yeah. And from there, I, just created who I am today.
So what do you say was, this is always a huge thing, losing a parent. And even though you're not like a child, but still it has a big impact on you to lose your mom at this age. But when you look back, what was the thing that made you realize really to the core that this was your life to live?
That's such a beautiful question. To me, I believe that one of the healthiest ways after we move through the levels of grief, which is critically important, you must allow yourself to feel your feelings. And there is no threshold or statute of limitations on how long it takes. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Then when you are ready, the most magnificent way to honor someone that you love that has passed is to absolutely live in the biggest and best way that you possibly can, and to not take a moment of your own life for granted. And that became the catalyst.
You mentioned it on your website, and I can see it. What you're doing is you say to people, you're here because you want to change, you want more happiness, you want more success, more fulfillment, more energy. And I love what you're saying on your website. What if I told you to get more is about less? Tell us a little bit about that shift, that this more is actually about less.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I think that when we're moving through any kind of growth or change, it can feel very uncomfortable and very overwhelming. And one of the misconceptions is, well, I'm going to have to add this on. I'm going to have to do more of this. I'm going to have to do more of this. But the reality and the truth with a TH at the end, because there's a difference between what's true and what's truth. What's truth is that we were born pure love and consciousness and totally enough. And then life happened all over us. So we've been covered up by all of the crap. And one of the most important things we can do for ourselves is to remove and take off the layers, peel them back, let go of certain attitudes and behaviors and tendencies. Rather than adding things on, it's much more about releasing, letting go, and giving up the attitudes, behaviors, and ways of being that are actually getting in the way of your own greatness and potential.
Yeah. And so giving up, it sounds to me, when you're saying it sounds to me like knowing who you are and being in your flow and letting go of too much control.
Oh, that's one of them. That's one of them. I love that we're talking about this, because one of the first things that I created, because I knew this was an area that we all needed help with, because I needed help with it. I created something that I needed. And giving up your need for control is one of these behaviors that I'm referring to. I actually look at them as like 17 different primary shifts that we need to make. But absolutely control. I mean, control was something that we were all brought up with. It was an influence. It was something that was inputted into us. And it is absolutely one of the behaviors that congests you. It interrupts you from being connected to whatever it is that you believe in that's bigger than you. And it's such a false sense of anything. If I knew that control helped, or worrying helped for that matter, I would say, go ahead and be controlling,
Be worried.
Work, right. It doesn't really help at all. It actually hurts you. So giving up control and stepping into a place of opening yourself up, like even right now, for those that are listening, if you kind of just like open up your chest and drop your shoulders down and shake your arms out, and you start to feel what it's like to be in an open, allowing space, versus the tense kind of shoulders up by your ears, control, everything has to be just so, because that drives us into a lot of chronic stress and a lot of frustration and letdown.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you work a lot with women. Tell me more about, are you a feminist? Are you into feminist and women empowerment? Or how do you define yourself? In which box do you put yourself into when you talk about your clients?
So many things I love in what you just asked. Okay, so I am not a feminist at all. And I have 3 daughters, by the way. So I'm not a feminist, I'm a humanist. Because I think that, and notwithstanding that, yes, women, we've had a different evolution and challenges. So I'm not discounting feminism. But for me, I'm a humanist, because the boxes that women had been put into through our culture and society and upbringing, and conversely, but similarly, the boxes that men have been put into. To me, we're all humans. And that's, who I like to serve. And yes, I'm an empowerment expert. I teach it really, really uniquely. I believe that everything is founded in your ability to choose. And I love to work with women because I'm a woman and I can relate in a different way. And having 3 daughters, that obviously aligns with me as well. Ultimately, it's not about women versus men for me. It's about, we are all humans. We are all worthy. We are all enough. And we have an inner power that is laying inside of us that needs to be activated and utilized. And through that, you can actually feel how you want to feel and be who you want to be every single day of your life. Yeah,
exactly. And a humanist is something that the change makers and the whole thing about the No More Boxes movement is really to eradicate this labeling of women are this and men are that. I'm really curious when you say, I love the fact that you say that you're a humanist. What is really the difference between being a feminist and being a humanist?
Oh, that's such a good question. Let's see. To me, being a feminist, for me, has an association of fight in it and of, women rule the world.
Yeah.
And, and it just doesn't align with, it doesn't feel right. I don't think we need that. I think to be a humanist is to realize that we're all connected, right? We're all connected. Neither sex or gender is more or less than the other. Yeah. We can appreciate the innate strengths and opportunities, right? Rather call weaknesses, strengths and opportunities of each quote gender, and where they may be more naturally, showing up. But ultimately, as a humanist, I believe, and you mentioned before the word box, living in a box. To me, being a humanist is empowering each human being to decide what their box looks like, decide what happiness, success, and fulfillment feels like for them, and then being able to align up into that and let go of the gross amounts of shoulds and supposed to's that we were conditioned to believe we had to be in order to be enough, right? Because when we're living in a space of shoulds and supposed to's, we are actually not living our own lives. We're not being, our true, authentic, unapologetic selves. We are being, the robots of those who created us.
Yeah. And even how our exception of what we think we were supposed to be doing from that. It's quite complicated when you think about it. I totally am with you on that one, Tracey. And I'm thinking that this is so interesting when you're saying with the difference between a feminist and a humanist, because I always looked at talking about labeling yourself. I always, as a feminist myself, I've always seen that being the humanist that you described. So that I think that's quite interesting because for me, being a feminist has been about people being valued.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about that too, and I love this type of dialogue is you and I, that's just a difference in our perceptions, which is all driven by how we were raised and who we are and the biases and assumptions that we live in every single day.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when you're saying that, it comes to me thinking, wow, this is one of those things that when you say you're something, like I would label myself saying I'm a feminist, and you say, no, I'm not a feminist. But when we go a little bit deeper into it, we are basically talking about the same thing.
Yeah, which is for each person to live in their definition of happiness and success and love, which is the whole goal.
Yeah. So that tells me that just like you said, Trace, was so beautiful that every human being should have the space to decide for themselves who they are and what it is that they want to do in this world and the change that they want to see in their world, that they have the space and freedom to do so.
Yes.
Which is exactly this. This is telling me is how important it is to communicate those things and to talk about these things. Thinking versus, it could be so simple to say, well, she is this and I'm that. But nay, hey, we're the same. We just label it.
Yes, absolutely. And the other huge detriment to the labeling, is that we create our own limitations.
Yeah.
And then we live into that limitation and label, right? It's kind of, to go back to the control thing, I'm a recovering control freak, which is why I can speak to it so well.
Yeah.
I'll share this funny story because everyone will appreciate it. I was having an annual party and I was addressing the labels on the invitations by hand, writing the addresses out. And I had like 100 of them to do. And my husband, we were newly married at the time, walks in and he's like, "Oh, can I help you?" And he goes to grab a stack of the envelopes. And I said, wait. Grab a scrap piece of paper and give me like a sample of how you would write the address.
Yeah.
And he said, "Are you actually asking me for a writing sample right now? I'm just trying to help you."
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh my God, yeah, I totally am making you give me a writing sample because I'm such a control freak that I can't even just let you help me." So when we associate it as like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm really controlling," or "I take things personally," or "I'm a neat freak," or, "I'm just a really anxious person." All of those things you are boxing yourself in, and you will always, without default, make that true.
Yeah.
Every time, right? Which is why alleviating yourself, and that's actually one of the things we give up. You give up your labels and limitations and realize that you are so powerful as the human that you are, that it's more about who do I need to be right now? What's relevant to what I want today? How do I want to be feeling? And that's who you get to be. And it changes moment to moment.
And and allowing yourself. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it should be. So Traicy, this is so interesting. Tell me, I can see we're coming to the end of our interview. Can you tell our audience where's the best way to meet you online or find out more about you? And what is where can they?
Yes. So you can find me on my website, which is www.thelitfactor, lit with 2 T's.com, or on Facebook at The Lit Factor. Always hanging out on Facebook. I do Facebook Lives many times a week, and also on Instagram. So the handle is at The Lit Factor. You can find me in those places, and I'm always up for a great conversation. You can tag me, ask me questions, and definitely look forward to connecting with everybody.
Well, one last question, Traicy.
Yeah.
What is the change that you want to see in your world? And what is the role that you want to take in order to create that change?
The change that I want to see in the world, and it makes me teary, and it is my contribution to the world and my mission, is to restore every single person's belief in their inherent worthiness. To really, really shift out of this, I'll be good enough when, or being motivated by, if I do this, then they'll like me, and all of the other conditions and symptoms that come out of not feeling enough. I am here to make sure that you embrace and believe that your worthiness is your birthright. You are valuable, you matter, and you deserve the happiness that you desire.
Traicy, I'm going to allow these beautiful words to be the last words in our interview today. Thank you so much for being you and sharing your gift to the world.
Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Runa, and you're listening to the Changemakers podcast, where we share tips, insight, tools, and stories from other changemakers designed to motivate you to become the change you want to see in your world. Make sure you join our Changemakers community at runamagnus.com/podcast. And now, this is your time to sit back, relax, and enjoy.